sounds great. We're gonna call the meeting to order at 10:03. I want to note for the record that all three board members are in attendance. Amy Pappish, John Garrity, and Candy Burbick. Also in attendance with us today is the Executive Director, Diana Clark. Could I please get a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So made.
A second, please. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. We will approve the agenda for today's meeting. Can I please get an approval for the minutes from the March 7th meeting, please? Can I please get a motion?
Madam Chair, just one correction. I noticed at the end of the minutes, I put that the next board meeting was July 11th.
Yes.
It should read May 2nd, so I will make that change.
Thank you so
I didn't
much.
catch that.
Thank you. I did note
So
that.
with that amendment, change, I move to accept the minutes.
Thank you so much. Is there a second to the motion to approve the minutes? Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. The minutes with that proposed amendment has been adopted and will be approved. Okay, moving on to attendance of guest participants today in our gallery. Good morning, Judge. We have Judge Patricia Smith. We have Norma Thomas and Megan Hardy, our court investigators. We have Stephanie Greenbank, the GSB caseworker, and I believe that is Michaela.
Yes.
Michaela Butcher, welcome Michaela, and she will be discussed here later in the agenda. So if there are any public comments at this time from the gallery?
No, thank you.
Hearing none? Okay, thank you. We will move on to the financial report that will be presented by Diana.
Actually, with the chair's permission, I'm gonna just skip to Michaela
Yes,
briefly
please.
because I'd like to get her introduced to us. So Michaela Butcher just started with us yesterday. Yay!
Yay! Welcome.
She comes to us from JFS and APS in Summit County, where she worked as a APS investigator for over 5 years. So she has lots of background and experience similar to Stephanie's, who had also been with Summit APS before she came to us. She has 2 AAs, associate degrees in human and social services, and associate's degree in psychology. So we're very happy to have her join us. Michaela, anything you want to add? You stayed after the first day, so I think that's a good
I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a really good fit, and this is my hometown county, so I'm excited to serve my people.
Wow.
She's a Ravenna resident. She lives on Lover's Lane, so
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, welcome Michaela. We're very happy to have
we're
you.
very excited. We've got a great team now.
That's wonderful.
So moving to the financial report, if you take a look at it, overall, year-to-date, we're 25% under budget. The only place where we're over budget, 90%, is for software, computers, monitors, and printers. That's because we had to load up on the front end to get Michaela's equipment in place and taken care of. So she's fully set up and running now with her own cell phone, Surface Pro monitor, all that kind of desktop equipment, mouse, keypad. So she's up and running, and thanks to IT, Jordan just stepped out of the room. But everything's great, and we have a case manager and a caseworker fully on board now to support our agency, so we're very excited about that. Otherwise, we're right on budget, under budget in some areas, and like I said, overall, we're 25% under budget year-to-date in terms of our cash expenditures. I still have to bill Jobs and Family Services for the case referrals that we received and have been appointed as guardian. But we've had a lot going on in the last couple of months, so I'm going to get to that right after our Board of Commissioners presentation. But we do have that additional $34,000 in funds that we will be working into the budget on an invoice basis. And that's very similar to how we bill Direction Home as well. They've been compensating us for mileage fees, and so each month we submit a mileage report to Direction Home, and then they reimburse the court for those expenditures. So I'm happy to entertain any questions about the budget.
Do you know how many JFS individuals we serve?
Well, it was kind of up on me to decide how to divvy it up, so I
Okay.
just kind of put a target of about 5,000 per referral.
Okay.
We had 10 referrals from APS in this past year, so we'll easily chew through that.
Okay.
Because some of the existing referrals are going to be billed out because we
Okay.
weren't appointed until this year, so I figured that was fair game to include in the invoicing.
All right.
I think that's an adequate number for the invoice too.
Right. Any other questions? If not, maybe we could have a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Diana, for that explanation of the financial report. It has been approved.
All right, so as I mentioned with Michaela, we're in the process of introducing her to our policies and procedures. She's going to undergo the county's training on Monday, so she will be involved in all the policies and procedures from the county, and then the online trainings that they do at that, that'll all be taken care of by Monday. Stephanie's working with Michaela to take her around, introducing her to our clients. We currently have 34 active wards that we're the guardian for, and so that actually started yesterday afternoon, where Stephanie took Michaela out to Streetsboro and introduced her to some of our clients, and also the ones that we have at Long Meadow. In terms of our operations overview, you'll see that we have, year-to-date, received 43 guardianship referrals. Of those, 42 guardianship applications have been filed. We have had 35 hearings. We've been appointed in 35 instances. But one of our wards passed away, so we are currently guardian for 34 wards. We have 6 pending applications, so by the end of May, we should be up to 40 guardianships based on our allocation of caseloads, 20 per caseworker. We're already at that with our 40 guardianships by the end of the month, which is why, as part of the Board of Commissioners presentation, we're saying we would like the additional funding support, because clearly by 2025, and their budget goes from 2024 through 2025, we will need that additional caseworker if we come anywhere near to the numbers that we've experienced in the first year. We have one active guardianship referral that we haven't filed an application on yet. I think there's still a question of whether a family member might step up into that role. We also have one from Adult Protective Services that we're expecting a new referral on. We've gotten the statement of expert evaluation, but not the referral yet, so that's another potential one that's coming through the door. And then, just to give you an overview of our visits, for the first year, we conducted 345 visits in the first 12 months. In February, we conducted 32 visits, March 36, and April, between Stephanie and I, 71. So we were doing a lot of independent visits in April because we had a lot more people to cover. We drove 1,115 miles in February, 1,146 miles in March. So we've been averaging about the same, a little over 1,100 miles each month, because our wards are in different locations. Addressing one of Amy's comments from the last meeting, with respect to our DD mental health client that's in Stark County, I did file a request yesterday to reassert our motion to transfer the guardianship, because he is stabilized with Coleman and Stark DD. And we're actively pursuing additional services for him there. He's happy there, wants to remain there. So now that he's been in residence there since January, I've asked the court to move forward on the request to transfer, if in fact that's feasible. So, but that'll be dependent on the Stark County Probate Court, and we'll see how that goes. But it did originate in Stark County, so hopefully they'd be willing to take it back.
Diana, can I just ask you a couple questions about
Of
the
course.
visits? So, actually, I have 2 questions. So, the first question is, it looks like based on the number of visits that you're making, is it about 1 visit per ward a month? Like, not so much?
Not
Like, what's
really.
what is the goal? Is the goal once a quarter? Is the goal as needed? Is the goal every other month? Like,
The goal is once a month, but we have some clients that are a little more on the high maintenance side,
Okay.
and I have to see them every week.
really?
Oh, sometimes more than once a week, just because of various things going on. But we do definitely try. I mean, we have 2 clients now that just went on hospice, so that's required me to interact with them more and help get things situated with them. So there are clients whose circumstances change and they need more visits to help provide support. There are clients, some mental health clients that are just more labor intensive because they have higher emotional needs, and we're 3 to 10 calls a day from them, or, you know, one client, I went to Akron and took shopping on Friday, and Monday they were calling me saying that there was all this stuff that they need to go shopping again for, and I had to explain I can't get out there this week, you know?
So looking forward into the future.
Right.
Eventually, if we're able to set up, the volunteer board, okay, or we talked about doing the
Yes.
nonprofit board. And we are able to get more volunteers in, are some of those things that you guys go out to visit for, things that maybe our volunteers could be doing?
I'm planning right now, we introduced a new volunteer who's an RN, currently still working but wants to volunteer for us, and I took her to see our clients at Gardens at Liberty Park. We have 3 clients there currently, 2 of which are on hospice, and so I've asked her to do visits there at least once a month to check up on our hospice clients and make sure our other fellow's doing well. Another one, Barb Helmling, I'm gonna try and do the same thing with respect to Kent Healthcare. We currently have 3 wards there, we're getting ready to introduce a husband and wife there as well. And so I'd like to ask Barb to try and keep an eye on those clients and see how they're doing. It makes it easier for her because they're all in one facility,
Sure.
but they do have a variety of needs, and because of her nursing background, it would be beneficial for her to help keep an eye on those folks too. So that's how we're trying to integrate our volunteers to provide additional support to us, and then that will take some of the burden off of us.
Right.
Also, now that we've got Michaela on board, I'm gonna rely on Michaela and Stephanie for more of the hands-on case management stuff, visits, and interaction with the residential facility staff, because as we're approaching 40 cases by the end of this month, there's just a whole bunch of administrative work that's gonna come in like a tsunami, with each of these wards needing expert evaluations for their annual checkup, annual reports due, plus the regular motions that I'm filing all the time, or court requests, like I just filed 2 requests to change the advanced directives to DNRs for people. So these things come up all the time, but if I take on most of that administrative paperwork and filing, then they can focus most of their time on the actual case care management end of things, and I think that's gonna be appropriate division of labor, because I've got more of the administrative background and they have more of the social services background.
Okay, and, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
My last question is the goal about 20 per caseworker?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
what we set out in our report to the Board of
Just wanted to make sure that
Commissioners.
was still.
But I mean, we're at that
We are,
by the
Right.
time we hit the end of May.
sure.
Especially if we take me out of the equation in terms
Right.
of hands-on with cases. And so that's one of the things I'm stressing with the Board of Commissioners, which is we've only paid for half of Michaela's position for this year, because we were originally gonna bring her in July, and then as our caseload after the first of the year became exponential, we moved that up to start May 1st. So I think that allows us to stress with the Board of Commissioners that we anticipate additional cases coming in from July 1st of this year through June 30th of next year. And that means that the additional funding we're asking from them will help pay the other half of Michaela's position and help us bring on a new caseworker that will then more evenly spread out the caseload so that it stays between 15 and 20 per caseworker instead of, bursting past that.
Okay, thank you so much for answering
Sure.
those questions.
For some of the mental health individuals that may live alone, are you hooking them up if they're not already hooked up to like mental health caseworkers like Coleman or Everwell?
All
that
of our
can
mental
also-
health clients have Coleman
Okay.
caseworkers assigned
Perfect.
unless they've rejected that.
Okay.
And we do have 2 that are very adamant that they don't need a guardian and don't want to be involved in the system at all. One of them even thinks they don't have a guardian, but
Okay, perfect.
that's kind of the ongoing challenge. But most of our mental health clients either live in a residential facility, a group home, or they're at the CSU because they're not capable of living on their own.
Okay.
It's usually the more extreme mental health people, not the bipolar people that can be stabilized on medications. We've got the severe schizoaffective disorders and schizophrenia clients that are much more challenging to manage.
Okay.
I will say in that regard though, we were extremely lucky. When I last talked to you, we had 10 clients that were awaiting residential placement, and we were struggling to try and get that achieved. Last week, we actually successfully placed 3 of the people that were on that list of 10, 2 of which had been at the CSU for an extended period of time. So we got them out of the crisis stabilization unit into long-term residential housing. And then a third one was an APS client that we got out of a dangerous home situation and into a residential facility where he's very happy getting his 3 squared meals a day, somebody's doing his laundry, and he's very comfortable and happy there. So it turned out really well for him. He has a lot of healthcare problems, so going someplace where they can meet all of his health needs and all of his daily living needs, it was a good thing for him.
That's good to hear. If I can just add, so the CSU, we use it as, a step up and a step down, but one thing that Coleman's dedicated to is no one's discharged until, we make sure they have a good place to go. And so sometimes we'll just house them there if there's not a lot of other acute people that need the beds more, so.
Yes. And a good example of that, one fellow had been in a Coleman group home, but he had a problem with elopements, and he's elderly. He actually eloped and ended up at a homeless shelter in Akron because he just hopped some buses. And so when he was located, he was returned not to the group home but to the CSU, and that was in August of last year. We just got him out of the CSU and into a long-term residential placement where he's doing very well. And he's happy, but it took that long to get it done. First we had to get our letters of appointment, then we had to get him qualified for a level 2, pass our approval, which took ages. And then we had to find a residential facility that would take him because it was Medicaid reliant. So it was a long process, but we did get him out of the CSU, and we appreciate the patience of the Mental Health Recovery Board and the CSU staff and letting him continue to be there where he was safe until we could find a more appropriate, less restrictive placement for him. Any other questions about our overview? At the bottom are 2 of our more recent appointments, just so you can see. One on the left is a mental health DD client who's presently at the CSU, but we think we're working with DD to try and find a residential placement where she'll be in a home with another DD client, and they'll have around-the-clock support services available. And then the lady on the right is an elderly lady, and we're trying to move her and her husband and their cat into a facility together. So we're almost there on that one, but we've been working on it for quite a few months, thanks to Stephanie's diligence. All right. Any other questions about that? If not, then I'd like to go into a discussion of our Board of Commissioners presentation on May 9. Couple of things. You'll see in front of you, this is the packet that I delivered to the Board of Commissioners, 6 completed packets that they asked for, including each one they asked me to include a copy of the draft resolution. So this was presented to them, and then a loose, unbound copy. The PowerPoint presentation is full-size, so it would be easy for them to read, including all the statistics that we had later on. So that's in here. And then it was very gratifying that of the 15 requests I sent to our community partners for letters of support, we literally got a dozen letters of support back. And so all of those letters have been copied and indexed and presented to the Board of Commissioners. And it's everything from mental health and developmental boards to community partners like JFS, several residential facilities. Kent Fire Department wrote a letter in support. Haven Homeless Shelter wrote a letter in support. So it was very gratifying that in just 1 year of operation, we've built a lot of alliances, and these people wanted to come to bat for us. So hopefully that will have some impact with the Board of Commissioners, so they see that we really have been integrating ourselves into the community and collaborating with the community to get these folks into placement. So I think I emailed to everybody a copy of the draft resolution. As part of our presentation, I'm emphasizing to the board that the numbers are growing. I mean, obviously, 1 year ago today, we didn't even have bylaws adopted. We were sitting here for the first time. I was the first hire. You even had to ratify my hiring. Had no staff, had no cases. And in that time, like I said, we've had 43 referrals. We've been appointed in 35 cases. I mean, it's just taken off like gangbusters, but in a very orderly, professional way, and we've basically created a new agency in 1 year's time that's functioning very well, is appropriately staffed, appropriately funded, And we're making big differences in people that didn't have guardianship support before. So we're starting from a situation where we had a backlog of 10 cases that had been sitting in the court's coffers for up to a year, where some of those people literally passed away before they could get a guardian appointed, to a situation now where as soon as we get a referral application, we usually have a guardianship application filed within a matter of a couple of weeks. So it's functioning much more quickly and to the benefit of the people in need. I'm happy to answer any questions about the Board of Commissioners presentation. Until the agenda comes out, I don't know the specific slot that we're gonna be assigned, but the request was put in to have us be assigned at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna probably be there at 8 o'clock in the morning just to make sure everything's set up fine. They have a thumb drive with our PowerPoint on it and digital copies of all the documents. But as soon as I get a copy of the agenda, which usually comes out on the Monday or Tuesday before the meeting, I'll send it out to everybody so you all know
Sounds great.
what we're slotted for. Any questions about the Board of Commissioners presentation? I know I emailed out copies of the PowerPoint and things, so I know you had a chance to review that.
Just want to thank you for all your hard work. I know that was
Thank you.
a lot of work you put into getting that to where we wanted it to be, so thank you for all
Thank
your
you.
hard work.
Well, it's a big ask, and I wanted to make sure that we gave them enough information to demonstrate the justification, you know, and especially since over 18% of our population is 60 years of age or older, and that baby boomer, you know, group is just expanding in needs. We're gonna see a continued need for guardianships, you know, in the coming years. So we want to be able to be positioned to receive those. All right, any other questions? We're good? All right, thank you. In that case, the last thing to jump to is the small estate procedures. At our last meeting, we had discussions about the guardian of the person cases that we get where we discover either upfront or later on that they have assets that need to be administered. And it's been a bit of a struggle in that the court has a small list of attorneys that have been willing to take estate cases, but there's a lot of reluctance when they are small estate cases as opposed to a house that needs to be liquidated or something like that. So working with some of the other GSB agencies that have been using a small estate procedure under the code 211105, this allows the court to let you take control of assets under $25,000 for a specific purpose. So for example, I've got a gal who has a bank account with like $1,500 in it. She's in a residential facility, Anna Maria, where they will become they're already her rep payee, but they'll also set up a qualified income trust. So I'm gonna go in and ask the court to issue an order allowing the bank to close that account, issue the check to Anna Maria for the qualified income trust, and boom, we're done. We don't have to involve an attorney, it's taken care of. And so it's gonna be those kinds of cases where there's a small amount of assets in a bank account or a vehicle or something like that that has to be liquidated for the ward's benefit. But we won't have to burden the court with the appointment of an attorney. We can take care of it ourselves. I'll be in a better position to manage those applications because we've got Michaela and Stephanie now with the hands-on case management work. So I attached the reference to the statute and also draft forms that we're going to utilize to pursue these things. It's mostly going to be for the liquidation of small bank accounts, or the sale of a vehicle, or redirecting Social Security benefits, pension benefits, or other monthly payments. They used to go into the ward's checking account, but now we're going to close the ward's checking account, so we're going to have to redirect them to a rep payee. And I will say that Catholic Charities has been very helpful. They've become rep payee for 2 of our clients now, where there was no one else available to do it because they live in a facility that doesn't provide rep payee services, so we needed to get someone in place to do that. And thank heaven, Rick Squire and Catholic Charities was willing to take that on. So that's been a huge resource to us, and it meant that we didn't have to try and do it ourselves. So that's with the board's approval, that's how we'd like to go ahead and try working on these small estate procedures. Amy and I talked about how for the first few applications that we present this on, I'll give her the application in advance for her review before I file it with the court. But it should be pretty straightforward and simple process. Just like we ask the court's approval when we change advance directives and stuff like that, it's asking the court's limited authority to approve a transaction so we can move on and get those limited assets resolved. Any questions on that?
No, I mean, as you and I have talked about in the past, I just think these are gonna be case-by-case basis.
Yes.
Based on, no ward situation is the same as somebody else, so I think we'll just have to kind of deal with these as they come along.
And it has been soup to nuts. I mean, we've got one case where the ward has about a $5,000 annuity benefit, but it's sat untouched for several years because no one was in a position to claim it for her. So it's those kinds of things that crop up that they do have to be handled, and it is for the ward's benefit to get those funds into, a qualified income trust that can be used for like dental appointments or other things that they need. But presently, they're not able to access those monies. So, it'll be an instructional first year as we work our way through these, but everything we've done in the first year has been new. Yes, Judge?
I have a question, if I may. So, I'm sorry, did I hear, so you guys are gonna determine are you voting on this today as it relates to this?
Well,
New
I
procedure,
guess
or-
we could vote on it. I mean, it's a procedure that's allowed under the law.
Right.
So,
So I guess my question is, I know we've had a lot of discussions about this, just for everyone's, knowledge.
Mhm.
We've tried to figure out what would work best, because we had come up with all different kind of scenarios. Is
Right.
do we want to contract with an attorney, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
right?
So is it my understanding then that we're gonna try this avenue, but you're going to, and no offense to you, Diana,
No,
because
that's
I know
okay.
you
That's
are
what
an
we
attorney
agreed,
by
Judge.
trade.
Right.
But that's what
But
we
Amy
agreed
is
to.
Obviously attorney
Sure.
in the state of Ohio. You'll review
I
them
will review
before
them,
they get
yes.
filed with the court.
Yes,
Okay,
because as I
that
had
would be
had
great.
conversations with Diana, we won't know that circumstance until
Sure.
it's presented to
Right.
us, right? And if we end up with a financial institution like Chase,
Right.
we may hit some roadblocks, because they're
Correct.
extremely difficult,
Yes.
right? So, as Diana gets ready to file these, she'll run them by me, and I can share with her my experience in using this, before in the state, and see if we think that's gonna work.
Right,
Once we start doing these, right, and if we see that we're hitting a lot of roadblocks, that we're just not able to use these orders to accomplish what we need to accomplish, then I think we're gonna have to discuss,
What
are
our
we
next
going
step is.
to, go down that road of trying to contract with a local lawyer on behalf of GSB to file guardianships of the estate. I know that we have some lawyers that have stepped up to the plate, and we have a list of 9 or 10 maybe.
Modest list.
Right now,
Modest
that's
list.
willing to help us, but, as our numbers increase, arguably the numbers will increase of wards that have small assets, right?
Right.
So a year from now, we might be having a very different conversation,
right,
right? But I think this might be the interim fix
okay,
to see if we can address these using this, this code section.
right,
Unfortunately, and I've expressed this to Diana, in my experience, institutions aren't really good with these types of orders.
right.
So I'm hopeful that they will be.
You're cautiously optimistic.
There you go. There you go, right? But the reality is, like, I've lived in this world, right? And I know that the roadblocks that we potentially could be facing. So I think it's the best course that we have to move forward right now without having an attorney on contract,
Right.
and knowing that our attorneys that are willing to help out are so limited.
Mhm.
I think this is the best course to move forward, and we'll only know as we try it.
Exactly. And I think it is always, go ahead, Judge.
If I could, and just for John and Candy's, I don't know how much knowledge you guys have about this, is, originally our plan was, we had a list of attorneys who, who take these cases and will do, and sorry, I know you were like trying to do it in your head, and I was like, oh, come over here. Who are real, but most of these cases are such small amounts that they don't want it. It's too much
Yeah.
work, and there's no way for them to get paid. And we don't wanna deplete our indigent account, right? Cause we do have an indigency fund through the probate court that we could pay the attorneys, but we would be depleting the indigency fund for someone to collect or transfer $1,500.
And even worse, some attorneys are asking to be taken off the list
Yes.
because they got assigned a small estate and they said, okay, I'll do this, but take my name off.
Take my name off, I don't want it. So we don't wanna get rid of the few people we do have, and so, you know, we're trying to figure, so this is the growing pains of a new agency, and we're gonna see how this works. It may or may not work.
Right.
And if it doesn't, we'll regroup, and so we kind of brainstorm trying to figure out a way that, you know, something that's acceptable to the court, and what, and I guess what I will ask at this stage is, did anyone run those, I know, I just looked at your orders and stuff, and I apologize, I know you've been sending stuff, and I have looked at things, but I have a lot going on. Did we run those by Heather at all?
Yes, Heather's been in the loop on all of it.
She has,
Yeah,
okay, good,
from day
okay,
one.
cause she'll be the one that goes,
Right.
no. She's not here, so I can say that. So I just wanna make sure we don't
Absolutely.
have any of those roadblocks before we even get started.
I think,
Awesome.
I think this approach is prudent because it's a multi-option approach. We're gonna start out with this.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll do an MOU. We still have the list of attorneys. We can always appoint, you know, somebody for a larger estate, like the sale of a house. So, you know, we're looking at it with different
Sure.
options, and then we'll just adjust to what's needed and
And
what works.
what works is really the bottom line,
Right.
so that's, we've been trying to, you know, talk about this for a couple months now.
Right. But we've been fluid and creative, and I think that's what you have to do when you're
Yes.
forming a new agency, and, you know, things are falling in place.
Yeah, okay, great, I just wanted to
Thank
make
you, Judge.
sure, because I felt like I kind of fell out of the loop there for a minute, so, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's what we're looking at for launching those small estate procedures. Amy, I'll probably be doing the first one this week just to handle that situation at Anna Maria.
Okay.
To float it past and get
Okay.
Greg Barton broken in terms of seeing these new applications
Exactly.
come across his desk.
Exactly.
But I've talked to them about it too, so he's
Okay.
not, I'm familiar with the approach.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a problem because Anna Maria's very familiar with, I call them Q, am I saying it right?
QIT, Qualified
QITs,
Income Trust.
Right. I have a
And they're
couple
very
words
happy
there
to
that
share
have them.
Yeah, Kent Healthcare does
Yeah.
that as well, so that makes it really easy
Yeah.
because then we don't have to worry about somebody else setting up the trust for the overflow. All right, well, we've kind of moved through
Yep.
the agenda quickly, but I'm happy to entertain any other questions or future things you want to have
Any
considered.
other comments from the gallery? Yes,
So,
Judge.
Diana,
Yes,
do you
Judge.
know who all is coming to the presentation for the board of commissioners?
Well, I know we've
I will
asked
be
our
there. I know
board
you will.
members
I will
to
be
be
there.
there.
Amy and Diana are actually doing most of the presentation. I
Right.
think what the game plan was is I would introduce you
Yes.
guys when we get there. John, will you or Candy be able to attend?
I
I'm
will
hope-
be there.
I'm hoping to also, and
Okay.
to register and speak up on behalf of the motion.
And I think Kelly Jo was planning on trying to be there
Oh,
as
good.
well.
Okay,
So,
that's wonderful.
but again, you know, we do have the letters of support from our
Sure.
12 partners, so I think.
No, it
that's
just always
helpful as
looks
well.
good when you have lots of
Agreed.
people.
Agreed.
I'm all about,
Yeah.
well, we're being recorded, so.
And I can send out an email to the group
About the
once I know the
information.
agenda judge and let all
Yeah.
our community partners know and then ask,
Yeah.
you know, if you're able
Say
to
if you're
attend
able to
and
attend, we'd love to have your support there.
provide your
'cause,
support
yeah,
in person.
I think it looks
Sure.
good, and, I'm sure they will give us the 9 o'clock slot, we asked for it so long ago.
Okay.
I'm sure that'll work, but once they get the agenda, that would be great.
Right. Good. Once I get the agenda and I know for certain when we're scheduled, then I'll send out an email to all the community partners and
Awesome,
ask for their
That would be great.
in-person support.
and I would too like to thank you, Diana, just the amount of stuff that you have accomplished in this year
Thank you, Judge.
has
Thanks a
been
lot.
incredible.
Very much so.
Almost unbelievable, frankly, and just the, just every step of the way, you know, your professionalism and your attention to detail and just all the things that you have provided to make our jobs easier, right? I mean, the board, I don't know that, you know, I mean, she gives you guys everything you need
Very much so.
to make these meetings, you know, 37 minutes rather than 3 hours, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and just the, you know, your communication skills, your ability to keep us all informed. I mean, I get a lot of emails from you and I do review them all. I don't always respond because there's sometimes no need to, or most of the time there's no need to. I appreciate the amount you keep us all informed. It really makes a difference in people's confidence level.
Thank you,
So,
Judge.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And I'm hoping that the Board of Commissioners will sense that organization and competence when they see our presentation, because we want everything to be very tight. Everything has unfolded, very smoothly,
Yes.
considering all of the new things that we were tackling. And so, as they say, nothing succeeds like success. So hopefully the Board of Commissioners will sense that and want to support us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, there being, yes, did you?
Well, speaking of Diana's success, and I guess this is directed more to you as the chair, we had talked about the board doing an evaluation of the
Yes.
executive director.
Yes.
And then, what is your anniversary? What is Diana's anniversary?
Well,
We just passed it. I came on board April 7th.
Okay,
Correct.
so, and then, so would we meet, the three of us?
I think so,
to-
I think so, and maybe we could do that before the next board meeting.
Okay.
The three of us will meet, there's probably some information we'll send to you to kind of do a self-evaluation
Sure.
of yourself as well. And then, the three of us will put together a report, and then we can present that at the July 11th meeting.
Okay, and I think I volunteered to send you what
Yes.
my board
Yes.
uses as my
Yes.
evaluation. It's-
Right,
It's
I've had some
not,
of
it's
those
not
on that.
necessarily any best practice sort of thing, but
Right.
just to give an idea that we could,
of where
kind
we
of,
could start.
yeah, look at some criteria or whatever, so.
I may have some things in that regard too,
Oh,
from
Okay.
past
okay.
experiences that I'm sure.
Sure.
That'd be great, that'd be
Not
great.
my first rodeo.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
and
thank
then
you for
we'll,
reminding me of that.
yeah, and then you're welcome, and then we'll get together. And do we need to do that in person or by phone or?
That's up to the two of you, I mean, you
Yeah.
guys have really crazy schedules,
Yeah.
so we could just do maybe a Zoom.
We're just such a small board,
Yeah.
so we're the personnel committee too, I guess.
Yeah, we're everything, right, HR, personnel, yeah,
So, yeah.
we're
okay.
everything.
I feel your pain.
So, let's try to circle back within like a week or so
Okay, that sounds
about
good.
some potential, and then, we can get something on our calendars, maybe,
Perfect.
early June,
Mhm.
and then we can have a presentation available, or have something to be able to present at the next meeting. We'll throw that on the agenda for next meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
do-
anything HR related, you probably want to do an executive session as opposed to open meeting. Just a thought.
Say that again, I'm
I
sorry.
said, in terms of when we need to discuss the review,
Yeah,
probably wants to be part of an executive session rather than an open meeting.
yeah, I think so.
I think
And then just
typically those-
report the,
Yeah.
Contracts
And
and
yeah.
employee
And
related.
we
Yeah,
can-
those are
we can
always
Are
send
in closed
executive
session.
report out the decision.
Right.
Right.
And then also, look at, compensation. I think that would be part of the evaluation.
Mhm.
I know you're probably, the employees here are probably on the calendar year. We work on our budgets on a fiscal year,
Right.
state fiscal year. But I think, and I'm not sure how those, like so absolutely there's gonna be an outstanding evaluation if we decide to make an adjustment. And is that automatically done with through the commissioners and COLAs or things like that?
You'd have to make a change to the budget because the budget has a set compensation for the ED.
Okay.
Or recommend that it be adopted for the next, budget cycle.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it has to obviously be included in the budget,
Yes.
and then, along that same line, how that all works, my understanding is my fiscal people put that in,
okay,
is I think how it works.
If there's
because
a change.
If there's a change, right,
Right.
they put it in through through the auditor's office.
Okay.
So, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the Board of Commissioners, it has to do with this board.
This board, correct.
And your budget, like you
Right.
guys have to say, yeah, I think that, we would like to, and then it's gonna happen with the other, Stephanie, I'm sorry, Michaela. All right, you're Heather now for me, and I have to get that out of my head. She's like Heather to me.
My aunt's name is Heather and she works here.
Oh, there you go.
So Michaela and Stephanie, that's the same thing,
Right.
is you guys have to make those decisions and then let us know so that basically what my court's fiscal department does is they just handle all of that. And along that line, we have that issue of the executime.
Right.
So they just instituted executime through the auditor's office, and I think literally we just started it this week. And so nobody here has permission to approve time off stuff for, so Diana can approve it for Stephanie and Michaela.
It has to be somebody who's in the county system. and
Has to be
so-
somebody in the county system,
Right.
so you guys need to come up with a plan where whether Diana, you know, shoots you guys an email and says, hey, I'm out sick, whatever, I don't know. You guys have to approve
Right.
her time off,
Yeah,
and then we can go in and do it.
yeah.
But we don't really have, I mean, she
Right.
is not my employee, they are not my employees, it's such a weird kind of hybrid
Yeah.
situation.
That was the email that the woman sent, right?
Right,
That I was included
but
on, where
I
she
think-
said Amy's gotta approve it,
Yeah,
but Amy doesn't
but-
have access to the
right.
county information.
Right.
Well, we were suggesting that you approve it,
We
she
were
said you
suggesting
can't
it, and
do
she
it
said
because
I
you're not in the
hated it.
system. But this is kind of analogous to when we were doing the mileage reports, and then they said, oh, I had to run it up the chain and get the board's president's authorization, so we
Right.
did it that way. So this is kind of analogous to that,
Yeah.
where, you know, as it concerns my vacation or whatever, I'll notify you as board president, you can just say, fine, I can give that to the fiscal officer, who then can approve it through the county system.
Yeah.
If I can offer, that's similar to what we have, so Bill Noam is our chair, I let him know everything, I'll fill out paperwork for vacation or
Right.
anything like that, and then, I sign off on everyone's else's time slips and payroll, or actually my direct reports, because my CFO supervises 2 fiscal people, so he'll sign off on those. And then Bill signs mine, and then somebody enters it for him, because of course he's not in the system,
Right.
the
Right.
union
Very
system, and then.
Right, so
the-
kind of
we
a
have
similar
fiscal-
situation, so you guys just need to get that worked
Yeah,
out to
yeah.
the extent of, because they're all on the county payroll,
Yeah.
so the county stuff applies, you know, how many days off you get sick,
Right,
how
right.
many personal days, we just got a added new bonus day.
And it really only applies to me, because I approve.
You approve all
sick
theirs,
and-
yeah.
Would it be okay if Diana just emails you as board chair? Or-
That's fine, I'll be
Okay.
happy to share it with you guys anyways,
Okay, and then, the other thing I was just gonna mention is, so, our board, approves our budget and our salary ranges, and even the job descriptions, which is a little overkill, but,
Right.
you know, I'll go with it, so it's good, we have a personnel committee. But then, the executive director, because I supervise people and do their evaluation, then I make their salary adjustments, but within that approved range.
Right.
And so I don't know, but, and I'm not saying that's the way it has to be, but I'm just wondering, how do we wanna do that? Because it's your budget, right? It's not.
No.
No,
Oh, it's our budget.
It's your
It's our
budget.
Okay.
budget.
It's-
So basically what happens is the funding from Board of Mental Health, JFS, DD,
Yeah,
all goes in, and I'm gonna just explain it in my very limited
GSB
fiscal.
pot.
It goes into a
Right.
GSB pot, and it just gets, they're considered county employees because they get all the county benefits, they get the county healthcare, they
Right.
get the county, sick time, vacation, all that stuff. We, as the probate court, our fiscal people just enter it.
mhm.
So, because I order my own budget, I set my own raises for all of my employees. We personally, in my courts, do merit raises.
Mhm.
So, we just input that ourselves, what we're doing
Right.
for each person. So we just need you guys to tell us for these 3,
Okay.
what's gonna happen, and we just input it. We don't have any say over it, we don't go, I don't think we should do that for Stephanie. I don't think Stephanie deserves a sick day today. We don't have any of those decision-making capabilities, we're just the conduit to input it.
Okay, and then would Diana, as the executive director, make those recommendations for our 2 employees rather than?
To you guys, yeah.
Yes, okay, good.
Yeah, I think what we might involve in our because we're gonna start our budget discussions in September of this year, just like we did last year, so we've got some running room before we have to approve it. But maybe as part of the discussion this year, in the past, we just said, okay, this position is gonna be funded at this hourly rate. Maybe going forward, we can say, this position has this salary range, and then, you know, you can make an adjustment within that salary range, But
That would be helpful for your budget.
that would be more
Yeah.
helpful for the
Yeah,
budget.
yeah.
So that's certainly something that we could adopt for next year's, the 2025 budget, which will be made easier if we get the 94.5 from the BOC too, because that gives us a little extra money to play with versus what we're
Yeah, you
budgeting
always
for
gotta
now.
have padding.
So is
I'm all about
the
that.
commissioner's office on a fiscal year, or are they on a calendar?
They're on a fiscal
They're
year.
on a fiscal year.
So that's
So-
why I asked for them to include us in their 2024, 2025 budget, which hasn't started yet, and explain to them what's in our 2024 budget.
So we will get their, if they approve, we'll
They
get
will
that in
come out-
July.
However they pay it out, yes. It would be payable starting July
They're in a
1st,
state
because that's
fiscal.
when their
Okay,
budget year would
I thought
start.
they were
we
on a
could-
calendar year,
No,
not
they're,
a state
their
fiscal
fiscal
year.
year.
okay. So then we could look at a potential,
That's my understanding.
okay,
What does that mean? Explain that
January
English.
through December
Calendar
is
year,
the calendar
January,
year.
and fiscal is July 1st
No,
to June
it's
30th.
January through.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Is it?
too, Judge,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
because we
January
bump
through
up
December.
against that and
Yeah, I
having
bump up
the
against
two
it all the
calendars
time.
and the two budgets and.
Yeah, we're January through December.
The county is,
Yes.
okay.
all right.
So does that mean if they approve, we wouldn't get it until January?
I don't know, I was under the impression that they were July through June, but,
Well, I
I mean, they have money available, not every penny is accounted for, so.
Okay.
It's just like us, so my budget is January to December, and it doesn't mean I can't hire people.
Adjust and reallocate, right?
Right, which we
Okay.
do on a daily basis, is adjust, reallocate, pivot, you know?
Right.
And so, you know, and I'm hoping that you guys are including in your salary requirements, like you have to understand also what the county is paying out as it relates to healthcare and all that kind of stuff. Like, it is a tremendous amount. Like, my first year here blew my mind. What somebody, so I'll just use a number because it's exactly the person that it happened, was like $60,000. I'm like, well, that's, you know, that's salary $60,000, and I'm like, oh, minus that out of my budget, and then I find out, oh, no, we have to pay for the healthcare and all that
Right.
other stuff. It's 120,
And the pension,
and everything,
Yeah,
exactly,
so salary and
pension,
benefits. is-
all the salary benefits and everything is almost double what that salary is, so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming, I assume other people have way more knowledge about this stuff than me.
well, that was all built into our
It
current
was.
budget.
Okay.
Right, because
Okay,
Michelle Crawford, you know, updated the insurance costs
right.
for our budget, knowing what they were gonna be for 2024.
Yeah,
So,
because that's what the county does, is they tell
Correct.
us ahead of time how much we think the increase is gonna be for the insurance.
And you plug that into your budget
We
projection.
have to build that into our budget, yeah.
Okay.
And unfortunately, if you guys don't know, we lost Michelle Crawford. She is now working for the commissioners.
Right.
So that's a bummer for us. So we are in search of a new fiscal person for our probate court, so it's a shame. She was very efficient, effective, and, we're gonna miss her, but I'm happy that she's doing something she wants to do, so. We will find someone.
Okay.
It is posted, so anybody is anybody.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions, John,
Oh,
about
thank you.
how that all works? Okay, then three of us will get together in the next couple weeks
Okay.
to get that moving forward, and we'll hopefully have something then at the July meeting. Is there anything else that needs to be addressed in today's meeting? Hearing nothing, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second? Second. Thank you. And we are adjourned at about 10:50. 10:52.
Thank you very much, everyone.